Anthony Hartwig here with another amazing edition of the YSN's Hot Corner, and I have a very special guest this week, Aileen Morales, head coach of the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Coach, thank you so much for giving us some of your time and what I'm sure is a very busy schedule.
Anthony, thanks for having me. I was just saying, love to see you. Miss seeing you at the ball field, but great to see you in this setting and just appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about our program.
Yeah, YSN, we cover so much high school sports and the travel ball. You do a lot of recruiting, of course. What do you think is so special about the high school level, the travel level, and that kind of part of a softball player's career?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that's unique about high school is that's different than the travel ball circuit is, you get that environment of school pride. You get to learn, playing for the name on the front of the jersey, right? And the high school model always has that, regional to state championship format, which, to me is huge because that kind of sets them up for what you do when you get into college, which is a conference to conference championship format and then regional, super regional, World Series. So I love the competitiveness of the high school setting when they're forced to play 7 innings. They have to have a winner, right? And then, the travel ball component, which has been huge this summer for a lot of athletes across the country who, their high school season was shut down. And so they had that opportunity to compete in the travel ball circuit, which, heck, I mean, most of our athletes, if you didn't play in the summer league down in Florida, you were fighting and scratching to get innings in. So love what travel ball and high school ball does because I think that it helps grow the game. And the more that we can get people out there on the field playing, the better it's going to make our sport.
What kind of development have you seen over the years in that level? And we've seen softball grow so rapidly in the span of the last decade. What kind of development have you seen from your point of view?
Well, yeah, I mean, softball's played, in the South, softball's played year round. I mean, honestly, everywhere you can play year round at this point because there's tournaments all over the country. You live in a cold climate, you go go play in, California, Texas, Florida, wherever. I just think it improves the game to allow these athletes to play. You need to take a little bit of a break, but to play for a good chunk of the year, honing in on skills. But I do think that travel ball has taken it to another level with just the amount of exposure for the sport. Now, obviously in light of the pandemic, everything's streamed now, which is, a little bit challenging. But, there are good networks. There's good coverage covering our sport in a lot of different ways. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it just grows the game. And, we're excited to be back at the field and hopefully back out recruiting at ball field soon.
What kind of memories do you kind of have of your career at that level, and what are the fond memories that you have of high school and travel and some of the things that you did so well?
Yeah, I loved, we had a really good high school team, so I loved competing, with my teammates. Those are some of my best friends, still good friends to this day. So, out there on the field, practicing every day, getting ready to win a state championship, whatever that might be. I loved that. Travel ball was just fun because you got to put yourself up against some of the best from different parts of the country, right? So you're playing in your high school pod or in your state, you see how you stack up against the best players in the state or whatever. But then when you go to that travel ball level, now you're seeing how you stack up with the best in the country. And so I think playing against the best only makes you better. I think that it brings the best out of everybody. And so I love the juxtaposition of both of those things because you're learning different competitive aspects with either level.
There's a story that's always told in the Georgia Tech broadcast about you at the high school level. I'm sure you know where defense, bases loaded, and you tell your coach, go sit on the bucket, we'll be there soon. Can you tell that story just from your point of view? And I want to hear your words.
All right, so it's funny you guys bring that up because, whenever I got back to Tech and was coaching again, the story started resurfacing, and I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly how I remember it, but it sounds great. But yeah, we had an amazing. I was really fortunate. I had great high school coaches. They pushed us. Coach Richburg and Bill Storr. They were amazing coaches. And we had a great run there at Hardaway for a while. But yeah, he had a cool little system. You know, what I loved about Richburg and Storr were that they empowered their athletes to learn the game and be smart about the game. And so I think we were in state tournament. I don't even remember who we were playing. And he was asking us the hitters were like changing locations in the batter's box, whatever, I don't know. And he was asking us to give signs if they were backing off the plate or on the plate, because then he was calling his pitches according to that. You know, whatever. That was my first understanding of that kind of concept, right? But he comes out, Coach Richard comes out. I think we had bases loaded. I think he was stressed out, whatever. I don't know. And I guess I told him to go back to the dugout. We got it under control. And I guess we did, thankfully, because I'm sure it wouldn't have went well. But they tell that story, and I'm like, I totally forgot that happened. But, you know, I think that we were confident. We knew we were prepared. And at that point in the game, you know, I understand that why he came out, why he was wanting to kind of reassure the defense. But, you know, from our standpoint and from my standpoint as a player, I was like, no, we're good. We got it. We're good. So you can go back. Probably could have said it a little better, but, you know, it was 16 or 17 then. So, yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it.
Well, lucky for you, it worked out, because then you can just say, "See, I told you." You know?
Yeah. You know, as soon as you say that, you're like, ooh, yeah, we better make do on that promise there.
Then, you know, you had a great career at Georgia Tech playing, and then you go and you start coaching. What was it like, you know, turning that switch from player to coach and having a different mentality and having to go and, you know, interact with players in a different kind of way?
I mean, I love being around the game. I love the sport of softball. I love helping develop players, helping them reach their potential. So, you know, it's a transition from, as an athlete, you're just trying to make yourself be the best you can be. You know, you're trying to make your team be better, but really the only thing that you can control is your individual performance, right? At the end of the day, you can train for yourself now. And now as a coach, I'm trying to figure out 20 different ways to communicate a message to different athletes, because everybody has different learning styles and whatnot. And so I think that's the beauty of it, is it's never the same. And what works from a communication style for one athlete might not work for another. And so you're always trying to challenge yourself to make sure that they get that message. Our job as a coach is to have them understand the message and then be able to apply it. And so definitely was a transition, and something that, you know, took me some time as a young coach to develop. But I mean, just love being around the game, love being around my athletes, my players, and love just helping them reach their goals.
How much did being coached by so many different people, and then as a player getting to see your teammates' reactions to how they're getting coached, help you coach yourself?
I can say this time and time again. I was very fortunate to have great coaches at all levels. I had a awesome travel ball coach, Jill. I had a great, you know, high school coaches that I mentioned. I mean, I played for Coach Earlywine initially at Georgia Tech, and then Sharon Perkins. Played for Mickey Dean in the Pro League. Played for Coach Edwin Mercado and Puerto Rican team. I've had great coaches who have different styles, and being on the Puerto Rican team, Lord, I didn't speak a bunch of Spanish, so I had to figure out how to learn to communicate in that such situation as well. And so, you know, I think that being around different coaches allows you to see that different styles work, and like you said, how they work with different athletes. And then you can kind of pick and choose and learn from those situations how to adapt that to your coaching style when you see fit. So, you know, some athletes need a little bit more encouragement. Some athletes, you know, they respond better to, you know, I think the best way is prove me wrong, right? So I was that type of athlete. I wanted to prove you wrong. And so, you know, you've got some of those, and then you have some that they need a little pat on the back, right? And I was fortunate to play for all different types of coaches, that all of them use different types of those styles. And so I've been able to kind of mold that through into my coaching philosophy.
Talk about the feeling when you got the opportunity to come back to Tech and take the head coaching job, and how special that was for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a dream come true. I mean, every day when I drive in here to the field, to the MU, and get to, you know, lead this program, I'm beyond thrilled. But yeah, I think we're down at a beach down in Florida, or where was it? It was might have been, I can't even remember now. But when they called me, I'd interviewed, you know, the day before, and I was like, I'm getting out of town, go somewhere and not think about it. And then when they called and said that I got the gig, I was, just really humbled, grateful. I mean, every day it's I feel blessed to get to come here. And, you have a different investment when, you went to school here, you played in this program. And so it's a whole nother piece of pride and that I put on this, as well as pressure that I put on myself to make our program be the best it can be. So yeah, super thrilled, excited. I don't know if there's a perfect word to describe it, but very fortunate.
You also have the unique opportunity to know exactly what your athletes are going through at Tech because you went through it too. Have you used that to your advantage to know exactly what your athletes are kind of going through?
Yeah, and I mean, in all of it, right? I sat in the same office that I sit in offices, right? I sit in the same office with recruits that I sat in as a recruit, and furniture's changed. We've upgraded a little bit, but that room is the same, right? And so it's real easy to tell that story of I've been there, I lived it, and now look at where I am now, right? And I've gone through that entire process of being a student athlete here, coming and practicing day in and day out, and trying to become the best we can be. But yeah, it's an amazing feeling.
Tech making big moves this summer. You bring in Coach Marty as a new staff, and a lot of people are dubbing that maybe the hire of the summer in college softball. A lot of respect for him in the softball world. Talk about bringing him in and what that means for your program.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, Marty, he's a phenomenal coach, to say the least. Developed and worked with some of the best pitchers in the world, as well as the country. I mean, my goal was to find a pitching coach who had a track record of developing elite level pitchers, recruiting them, developing them, all of that. Has World Series experience. I mean, just a great coach, phenomenal person. And just the excitement and the energy that he's bringing to our pitching staff already is unmatched. So we are excited beyond words, and just a great guy, great family, just a great person to be around. So thrilled for that, thrilled that, he was excited about this opportunity, and, we're ready to get after it.
I imagine you didn't have to sell him too hard once he saw the backdrop of the Mew and he knew that he got to work there every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in true coaching fashion, anyone who's a coaching veteran, they know that recruiting is the lifeblood of your program. And, when you come on our campus and you see our facilities and you see that backdrop, you're like, I can sell this, right? Imagine, taking a recruit through that, and the recruit seeing the field lit up at night and the city in the background. And so Georgia has extremely rich recruiting talent in the state, so you put that, this school, top 5 academic school, great recruiting talent in the state, all right here in the city. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
And, talking about recruiting this summer, you said a little bit, it's been different. It's been virtual recruiting. You can't go to ballparks personally. For a lot of travel coaches that are going to be watching this, what are some of the do's and don'ts that you've seen over this summer that they can kind of learn if they have to keep doing this, and some of the things that really work well and some of the things that you would want to see differently?
Yeah. I think that I'm not going to harp on any negative stuff, but I think some of the positive and the do's, the more that we can have profile sheets ahead of time, the more that if you have somebody who can do commentary, doesn't have to be crazy color commentary, but just, letting us know who's up to bat, things like that. I think that's been huge for us, because when you're, in a normal recruiting setting, you might move from field to field. And so you have your profile sheets and you have your information. When you're on this stream, you might be moving from screen to screen. And so when you're picking up, you don't always know who's batting, who's pitching, those things. So the more that, they can give a little bit of background on who's out there, I think that's great. I mean, sending schedules ahead of time is always good. And I know we're all in uncharted territory and we're all just trying to balance it. But, and I think the other piece is send stats. If travel coaches send stats, we're stat junkies. We like to see that stuff. What we value in our program might be different what somebody else values in a program, but those numbers, they're important, they're valuable, they are metrics. And so that would be the other piece of it is, if we were not able to get out there and see you in 20 games this summer, those stat lines are important because they give us some level of information. How often you get on base, how often do you hit for extra bases as a pitcher, how often you get in swings and misses, striking people out, those things are important.
And coaches always talk about the intangibles they look for. You've had to get kind of creative looking for those with the virtual kind of recruiting. What kind of ways have you been kind of looking for the intangibles that you see?
Yeah. I mean, I think hustle is huge. Like, are you first one on the field, off the field? How do you handle failure? We know you're going to fail. Like, this is a failure sport. How do you deal with that? I don't expect people to be perfect. I think you have emotions. So someone's going to be mad sometimes. They might not react the same way. Now, if every time we watch you, you're reacting poorly, that's a different story. But, how do you respond to that adversity? I think that's huge. We can watch a bunch of highlight clips and see all your best swings, but, what are you doing on your worst swings? And how are you managing that? Or how are you managing the game when, as a pitcher, you might be getting, beat up a little bit, you might be getting banged up a little bit on the mound. I think those things are huge. Body language is huge. But, it's all challenging, right? This is uncharted waters, and we're all just, trying to do the best we can day by day.
And talk about recruiting is also kind of hard for you. Not hard, but I'm sure it's a pleasure challenge to recruit at such a challenging academic institute. And, the education requirements are so high at Georgia Tech. So you're not just looking for great athletes, also looking for great people in the classroom. What's that kind of like? Because it's not the same in every
Yeah, I mean, I think that the college athletics model is set up to prepare you for what you want next in life, right? So, you might have some football players who are going college athletics because they want to go pro in the NFL. And you might have softball players who are set up because they want to go work for Boeing or for, one of the best, engineering firms in the country, whatever. So you're coming here because we're setting you up for your 40-year plan. So if that goal is engineering, if that goal is business, whatever that might be, sure, you're going to be challenged in the classroom. Absolutely. Well, you're going to be challenged in the ball field as well because you're playing in the Power Five. You're playing ACC. This is a conference that wins national championships as well. So I think that it takes a unique person to want to be challenged in both areas, but that challenge is going to set you up long-term for the next 40 years. We've got Coke. We've got Coke, Home Depot. I mean, the list can go on and on of all the Fortune 500 companies that are right here in our backyard. And so, yeah, you might be challenged in the classroom, but go grab a summer internship and you're set up for the next 40 years just by, spending a little extra time, interning over the summer.
And then the statistic you always see on Georgia Tech social media is 2 in 5 graduates get to be millionaires.
Yes.
That's a selling point.
I mean, 40%, right? So I guess if you marry somebody from here, you probably are in for, if you both graduate from here, I guess you should both be millionaire. You should cash in on the millionaire aspect, right? You double your chances.
So meet someone on campus.
Yeah. But, it's what we have going on here, the level of academics, the level of play you're getting. I mean, you're going to be challenged in the classroom, absolutely. But, who isn't? And that's, again, going to bring the best to the top. And I think it's a great environment where you're going to come out of here well-rounded. You're going to be set up for the next 40.
Let's talk about your program now. You got to play a handful of games before the shutdown. What kind of things did you see from your players in the games that you did get to see? And what's kind of the expectations of the fall and the off season and then, kind of restarting in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most simple way to talk about it is let's get better every day. And I know that sounds real basic, but, in times of uncertainty, the more structure we can provide, the more consistency we can provide, the better. I think that, we're not getting to play these fall games. So that takes a piece out of it. And so the more that we can focus on how can we improve as individuals and as a team, it's going to make our team as a whole get better. I think in regards to last year, we got experience. I think that's the best thing. We had freshmen out there, Emma Kauf, Blake Nelliman are the two that I would, hit on the most that got some experience in high-level games, playing high-level competition right out of the gate. They weren't nervous. They didn't look like freshmen out there, and I think that's huge. for our program. I think that we got off to a little bit of a slow start, but things were finally starting to click as we got into conference play. And so that consistency is what we're really looking for now. We're at a point now where we should be more consistent day in and day out with our games.
When you're putting the young girls on the field, does the expectations of the people that have been there, done that, go up a little bit for you guys?
I think so. I think that you can't win the big games if you haven't been in the big games. And so, we had, right off the bat playing Washington 2 times, and we played Kentucky, we beat Kentucky. We played some tough teams in non-conference play and had great games. So that level or that expectation of these are the people we play with, these are the people we expect to beat is now there. And I think, like you said, you've got to go through that process. You've got to be there first and in those games before you learn how to win those. And now we're starting to win those. And so I think that's huge for the growth and the expectation of the program. And now as a recruit coming in, that's the expectation, is you win those games and you're competing for a conference championship and to be a top 25 team, to be in a World Series. That's where we're going with our vision.
I remember that Washington game, and if you guys weren't playing against the best shortstop in the nation, you probably would have won that game.
Yeah, I think there's probably a couple of teams that probably say the same thing, but she made a phenomenal play there towards the end. We were making a run, I think the last inning or the 6th or something. So, but again, how awesome to play high-level ball, and again, that raises your level every single time you step on the field and have a great game on both sides when both teams are playing high level. I mean, you can't ask for anything better because, again, that brings the best out of you.
How hard was the conversation you had to have with your team when everything shut down and you kind of had to realize that your season was kind of, cut?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to this now, and it feels like 3 years ago when we were having that conversation, and I know it wasn't, but I think there is so much uncertainty, not just for them, but for us. And there was a lot of things that were unclear. And so we had a tough conversation. We sat in there, there was tears, there was just a lot of honest communication about, we don't know what's next, but what we do know right now is that this season is not happening. And something that I never thought I would navigate as a coach. Right. And so definitely, yeah, I'm thinking back to that. It was a challenging time. We all, just kind of sat together and shared our thoughts and just tried to really be there for each other and be there for, because it wasn't just our seniors, right? It's everybody who felt cheated out of the rest of their season. And so just kind of was a time to sit together and reflect.
How happy were you when the NCAA said that we're going to give an extra year of eligibility to those who want to take it? That way it gave a little cushion to those seniors to not feel like everything was taken away from them.
Yeah, I think that, again, like if we kind of go back to how our program runs and how Georgia Tech runs, we had some seniors that they are already market ready. They already had a job and, they were ready to take that opportunity, and there's some pretty good jobs. So you can't fault them for that. But for the other players who still felt like this was unfinished here, they have that opportunity to come back. And I think that was the right thing to do. It is not easy to manage at all. And I know everybody, is across the board managing with rosters and now adjusting what they need in their program with other recruiting classes because of that. But yeah, I think it was the right thing to do. And I was thrilled, there are some players who definitely were excited about that opportunity. And I think that just given the situation, that was the right thing to do and needed to be done.
Now everyone's back on campus. It looks kind of different with all the regulations, but how good is it to just kind of see everybody again, get back on campus and kind of be a group again?
I love it. The only negative is you can't tell when people are smiling as much because you got the mask on, right? So you got to smile with your eyes. But I think that just being around our players, being able to see each other interact is huge. We practiced Monday, so yesterday, or we were out there on the field, and so it was just great to be around each other, talking about softball, getting back to what we do best and what we love.
Everyone's talking about football right now. The ACC has decided to play.
Mhm.
How important is it for you, the spring sports and softball, that fall goes off without a hitch, and you guys, colleges can prove that you can go and play sports without having, disastrous effects?
I, Again, all I can do every day is control the controllable. I mean, I think it would be amazing if we can get football to continue to play and they're able to the ACC to get their season off. You know, in what I've heard from what the NCAA has said on record and some of the videos, it seems like it's very apparent that they have a priority to make sure that spring sports are not affected in the same way that they were last year. And so I hope that continues to be the message and the plan of action that they move forward with, because, half of our season was cut short last year. Not just us, there's multiple sports, there's baseball, there's a lot of other people, spring sports that were affected. And so they need to continue down the path of trying to maintain the integrity of the spring sports season as best as possible. But yeah, I mean, every day is, you look around the country, every day there's new things happening. And so we really just continue, me, my staff, Reese, Marty, Caroline, every day. It's like, what can we control today? And that's the focus. And one day at a time. And we'll deal with January when we get to January. And it really kind of has to be that mentality, because there is still so much uncertainty out there.
During the COVID outbreak and quarantine, I'm sure you guys as a head coach were extremely busy, but probably also gave you some time that you wouldn't normally have. So what was your favorite part about getting some time to yourself that you wouldn't normally have, and maybe your favorite quarantine activity?
I got to, I don't usually get to spend a lot of time with my parents, and they were actually in the process of moving. They just moved down to Florida, and I was really fortunate to actually spend probably 2 weeks with them, an extended period of time, which usually I don't get to do. So that was great. They've got a place at the down on the beach. So I think my favorite thing was just heading down to the beach, getting some sun and just watching the waves crash. So nothing crazy, just tried to really unplug a little bit when I was allowed to, or when I was able to, and kind of recharge those batteries, because whether we were working or not, there was a lot of, just things going on, whether you're actually in the office or not. There was a lot of things, happening, and mentally I think everybody needed, a little downtime to just kind of turn all that off and get away. But the beach is my happy place.
From a head coach, what kind of advice would you give to maybe a 2022 or a 2023 trying to find exposure in this crazy kind of situation and trying to still stay at it, during the virtual recruiting kind of days?
I think, they need to be honest with themselves about what they want out of their recruiting process. I think that is huge. Make a list of what are the things that are important to you in a school. If a small school is important, shouldn't probably go chasing down big schools, right? And I think that's the advice I give to anybody. But your recruiting process is unique to you. Don't measure your recruiting process by player A on your team or player B on your team. Worry about what's important to you, what you value, and find schools and coaches that align with that. And I think that I think that these 22s are in a weird space a little bit with us not being able to go out and recruit this summer. And so, the more that they can be honest with themselves about what they want that timeline to be, and stay true to that, and do your homework on the coaches, do your homework on the schools you're interested in, it's going to work out like it's supposed to. It might not feel like that right now, but it's going to work out like it's supposed to. And your recruiting timeline is your recruiting timeline, and believe that and stay true to that, because it will work out like it is supposed to.
And if someone out there that is listening says that Georgia Tech's their dream spot, their place they want to go, what do you say to that?
We love you. We love players who want Georgia Tech to be their dream spot. I think we are looking forward. We're anxiously awaiting September 1 to kind of finally get to have some contact with these 22s. It'll be fun. It's interesting just in navigating through this, but just excited to kind of start building those relationships with that 22 class once we're able to get out there and start talking to them, thankfully.
And with that, one more question. What's the good word, Coach?
To hell with Georgia.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. And we definitely appreciate the time. I know your schedule is hectic, and we look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks, Anthony. Really appreciate you having me on.